Tonight, we're winning. The fight against the deadly coronavirus isn't over yet, but new figures show we've avoided a health disaster. The vile and racist attack on a Geelong doctor, and sadly his experience is becoming more common during these difficult times. In the doldrums, predictions, job prospects for many workers will remain poor well beyond the pandemic. AFL chiefs and our top medical officers in talks over the return of footy, but they're far from kicking goals. We'll cross live to AFL House for the latest. And Canada in shock. A gunman dressed as a police officer goes on a killing spree.
This is 10 News First Melbourne with Jennifer Keyte.
Good evening. First tonight, Victorians have helped change the course of coronavirus and avoided a catastrophic toll. With only one new case overnight, new figures show we're slowly winning the war. The Premier says if they stay that way, restrictions are more likely to be eased.
With most Victorians adhering to another weekend at home, the Chief Health Officer decided it was time to prove why it was necessary.
We saw this modelling some time ago and we changed the future.
Without social distancing, the modelling says we could have had 58,000 new COVID cases per day. That would mean some 10,000 ICU beds being occupied, which would include 7,000 patients requiring ventilators. Those numbers would have meant an estimated 650 deaths per day.
We've acted hard and acted early, and just very grateful we're in this country and not some other parts of the world.
But with just one case of coronavirus confirmed overnight, the Premier signalled he's open to easing restrictions.
The stability in those numbers gives us options.
Like to see it happen whenever we can, but right now we have to be super responsible, and I'm happy to play my part in that.
A key marker in the fight against COVID is the reproduction rate, or how many people each carrier infects. If that figure is above 1, then the virus is growing. But if that figure is below 1, then the virus is disappearing. The latest figures in Victoria show that that figure has dropped to 0.5. But Daniel Andrews says it's not time to get back to the bars.
The notion that pubs are open anytime soon, it's not going to happen.
And with an eye on America, the Premier is steadfast against opening golf courses.
Governor Cuomo wishes he was having a debate about golf. They're not. They're having a debate about where the temporary morgues will go.
A grim situation Victoria has so far thankfully avoided. Simon Love for 10 News First.
A 20-year-old Mildura man is accused of flouting coronavirus restrictions 5 times in 5 hours, as police continue to crack down on people doing the wrong thing, with almost 100 fines issued in the past 24 hours. Annie Kearney joins us live now. Annie, a group of partygoers were also fined.
They were, Jen, with more than $26,000 worth of fines handed out to 16 partygoers. We understand at a kid's birthday in Beaumaris, where the clearly blatant flouting of coronavirus restrictions was spotted by dozens of passers-by. Some we spoke to thought the fines were well deserved. Others said it looked like the guests were trying to socially distance.
Milling around in the driveway, so it was all harmless, I think. Yeah, probably not as what the authorities might like, but it was all very harmless.
It's antisocial.
I am happy police are enforcing it. It's a tough job for them to do, but yeah, I am happy they're actually enforcing the rules.
Police are still cracking down on events like this, with 819 spot checks carried out in the past 24 hours and 91 fines handed down, including the 16 for those partygoers, as well as 5 people caught sitting in a car together drinking, and a 20-year-old Mildura man who was spoken to by police 5 times in just 5 hours. He has been arrested and charged, and Jen, he has been bailed to reappear in the Mildura Magistrates Court in July.
OK, thank you very much, Annie. A Geelong doctor has spoken out after being targeted in a sickening racist attack. Ern Chang wants to raise awareness about an increase in abuse since the COVID-19 outbreak.
Ern Chang has embraced every element of being Australian since immigrating here from Singapore 12 years ago.
Hey, g'day, Frank.
Yeah, Dr. Chang.
He runs a family medical practice in Geelong, putting him right in the firing line of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Stay in your car. Yeah, I'll come up with mask and gloves.
He knows the dangers of COVID-19, but he didn't think he'd be a victim, of sorts, when a woman approached him near his regular cafe.
Looked straight at me and said, "You shouldn't be here, you should be at home. Why are you here? F off." And she repeated that a couple of times, got in the car and says, "I bet your name's Lee, isn't it?"
Ern was hardly shocked. Many of his Asian friends and colleagues had told him about the increase in racial abuse since the coronavirus outbreak.
People just walking by and abusing them just for being there.
Ern's wife Michelle encouraged him to post his experience online to raise awareness and help others.
This virus is not a cultural thing, it's a human thing.
The Facebook post was met with mass applause for the GP. The couple says it's more important to unite communities than target people who make racist comments.
We don't know what's going on the other side of the table. We don't know what they're going through.
The Australian Asian Alliance has received 178 reports of COVID-related racism in the last fortnight. That's roughly 12 complaints per day across the country. But the number of actual incidents is likely to be much higher.
Really harmful, and I think goes against the values of the Victorian community, but it's also against the law.
Next time it'll be somebody else who looks different. So I don't think that has a place in our society.
Natasha Exelby for 10 News First.
Former Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce today ramped up attacks on his own government's plans to track the spread of COVID-19. He hates the proposed smartphone app that's capable of tracing who you've come into contact with, and he's not alone.
He's always ferociously guarded his privacy, although not always successfully.
I don't want the government to know so much about my life.
Barnaby Joyce is talking about the government's new smartphone app, which is aimed at tracking down people who might have come in contact with someone who has tested positive to COVID-19.
Whether or not you know the person.
Yeah, I'm refusing to download it and I'm totally within my rights because it's not compulsory.
Curiously, the Labor Party even supports the app, but not the former Deputy Prime Minister.
It's like someone following you with a notebook, writing down who you're talking to and how long you've spoken to them for.
Well, I think most Australians like me aren't too concerned where Barnaby is. Barnaby's concerned that someone is tracking or surveilling him. That's not the case.
The app is expected to be available in the next couple of weeks, and while it's not mandatory, Australians are being encouraged to get on board.
I honestly don't think that there's a significant privacy issue here.
It will use Bluetooth rather than geolocation technology.
It'll only capture that information and hold it on your phone for up to 21 days. And then the data disappears.
This is all about seeing who you've been in contact with, not where you are.
But not everyone's convinced.
The reality is that ultimately, once you have 4 pieces of information, you have the capacity to identify about 90% of the individuals who are utilising that.
To put minds at ease, the federal government says it will publicly explain exactly how the app works ahead of its release. But before that happens, the National Cabinet will meet again tomorrow to look at possibly lifting restrictions on elective surgery and dental work. Amber Austin-Wright for 10 News First.
A battle is brewing over who will be the state of origin for Virgin Australia's headquarters if taxpayers bail out the struggling airline. Both New South Wales and Queensland are negotiating, but neither is willing to give ground.
It's state versus state, and Virgin is the political football.
Well, at the end of the day, my government's responsible for New South Wales. I don't apologise for that. I'm the Premier of this state.
Back off. Back right off. Just don't go there. If the world knows one thing, it knows this. There is nothing more dangerous than Queenslanders with their backs to the wall.
The war of words breaking out after New South Wales revealed it is in negotiations to help bail out the struggling airline, but only if Western Sydney gets the headquarters.
But this is not about being in a fight with Queensland, it's about being in a fight to keep as many businesses in business over this time.
Queensland has already offered a $200 million lifeline, asking the other states to join in, but not like this.
Now, New South Wales might want to bring a pea shooter to the fight, that's fine. We'll bring a bazooka and we're not afraid to use it.
It would be a public bailout for a company with some big international backers. Etihad and Singapore Airlines both own a stake in Virgin Australia, as well as two Chinese conglomerates and Richard Branson's Virgin Group. But any rescue deal will likely require the federal government to contribute. Virgin says it needs about $1.4 billion to stay afloat. And today there was another warning. Virgin Australia releasing a credit downgrade to the ASX that put it starkly, saying without additional funding over the next few months, there is a high chance that the airline won't survive.
Virgin does not have a great deal of time for the government to get its act together to extend this lifeline and save the jobs of 16,000 workers.
Cabin Supervisor Tony Smith is one of them.
They're people that I can turn to help me get through things. And it's not just me, it's a lot of other crew as well and staff.
Many of us who are struggling on one wage, and if we do go down, it is impossible to go on.
It's far from a game when your job's on the line. Ursula Hager for 10 News First.
Stark new research suggests Australia's jobless rate will climb as high as 15% as businesses struggle well beyond the 6-month wage subsidy scheme. The Grattan Institute wants the government to commit to another stimulus package to avoid a depression.
Victoria Pateman runs a successful beauty salon in Melbourne with 5 employees and 130 clients per week. But on March 25, the salon was forced to close and 95% of earnings were lost literally overnight.
Well, a couple of weeks you could probably cope with, you could still stay afloat. But as the time goes on, you haven't got clients, you haven't got money coming in.
Her business is eligible for JobKeeper, but the new mum fears she may not be able to pay staff beyond that.
The clients might not be able to come back because they've lost their jobs as well. People may not be spending because they'll be wary and they'll have loans, much like we will as well.
That and the fact many industries have closed altogether are among the reasons the Grattan Institute warns Australia's jobless rate is likely to reach 15%.
And unless you're actually looking for work, you're not going to be shown. You don't show up in the unemployment statistics. So the true rate of joblessness will be higher than the unemployment numbers that the government has forecast.
Hospitality and the arts have been worst hit, with more than half their employees out of work and no clear end in sight. For the economy to recover beyond this pandemic, people need to feel confident in spending their money. The measure of this is called consumer confidence, which at the moment is at an historic low. Right now, it's at -30. That's twice as bad as during the worst moments of the global financial crisis, and even worse than the recession of the early 90s.
This is a recession that Australia had to have.
It took 8 years for the unemployment rate to fall back to the level it was pre-crisis. And that's a situation where you need to work really hard to avoid this time around.
Georgia Love for 10 News First.
AFL season 2020 is unlikely to kick off again until a major agreement about player travel can be reached between the federal and state governments. Rob Waters joins us live now. Rob, there have been high-level talks between health authorities and the AFL over the weekend.
Good evening, Jen. Well, Victoria's Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton has outlined what the AFL needs to do to get the green light from health authorities to restart the season in 2020. I understand that the AFL is aiming for a July return if a hell of a lot goes right, but they will be playing before no crowds if they do things. If things do get underway once more. The AFL will need to show how the risk will be managed. They'll need to provide a plan to control physical distance, have a rapid-fire plan to test players for the illness and get quick results as well. And most importantly, they'll need the cooperation of health authorities from all states around the country, as well, of course, the federal government.
Gil and I discussed it in terms of the planning that needs to be in place. He will come formally with some proposals. My suggestion was it needs to be a national conversation because it does relate to how teams can move around the country.
Still no update from the Western Bulldogs on the Lockie Hunter matter. Of course, he crashed into 4 cars last Thursday night in Middle Park and was caught driving under the influence. Now, President Peter Gordon and CEO Amit Bains are leading that investigation, but they've got to do that in conjunction with a police investigation. The AFL Integrity Unit is having a look, and they've also got to consult with Hunter's management. So we're not expecting anything out of them 24 hours or even 48 hours. But, of course, Hunter is likely to be stripped of the vice-captaincy. It's likely that he faces a suspension of 2 to 4 games, a heavy fine, plus, of course, he's got to pay for the damage caused to those 4 cars. So a terrible night for Hunter and the Western Bulldogs, still wading through it all.
OK, thank you very much, Rob. Now here's Stephen previewing sport and a shock for our cricketers.
Yes, Jen, the cupboard is bare when it comes to money, but the players say there won't be a messy fight as they negotiate a deal. Soccer cops a whack from some Aussie legends, 2 of footy's hottest prospects reunited. And an all-in Taiwanese style, the bat who didn't like being the butt of a joke.
Thanks, Stephen. Coming up in 10 News first. Canada's dark day, a gunman who pretended to be a police officer goes on a deadly shooting rampage. And content charge, Australia to force Google and Facebook to pay news outlets for stories.
It's the biggest
ravenous punters
MasterChef barbecue ever.
Oh my gosh.
It is absolute mayhem. Alarm bells are starting to sound.
It's too slow. I know, mate. I'm trying to get it going there, mate. I warned you about this.
And will St Kilda's epic challenge eat them alive?
The way that your service goes all relies on the next 10 minutes. I'm worried for you, mate. Have you got anything cooked?
MasterChef, 7:30 tonight on 10.
Make your home a sanctuary with distinctive luxury homewares up to 75% off with Canning Bell's Luxury for Less sale. Shop online with code FREE for fast free shipping and a 100-day home trial. Limited time only. CanningBell.com.
When was the last time you washed your hands? Go on. In 20 seconds, you can help reduce the spread of infection. We don't care which soap you use. We care that you care. For you and for all. Dove.
Right now, it's time to stay home. But don't ever stop dreaming of your next adventure. Because even though we're home for now, it won't be forever.
Hester is a super fund that supports people whose work helps others. Their stories inspire us to give them a stronger financial future and a better world to retire into. It's our way of saying thank you.
Head to Macca's right now if you're looking for a treat and get a creamy McFlurry for only $2 or a McValue Family Box for $24.95. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.
The COVID-19 crisis brings unprecedented internet traffic over the NBN network. To help support Australia during this time, we currently offer internet providers up to 40% increased network capacity. Our technicians remain on the ground wherever they're needed. And we're sharing updated tips to help you get more from your home setup. To find out more, visit nbn.com.au/response.
The MS Dream Home Lottery has a brand new super early bird prize for you. An incredible BMW Z4. Get your tickets by Wednesday to be in all major prize draws.
Hughesy, you've got a very big problem.
My husband hates him.
Why do you hate him? Yeah, why do you hate him?
Is it his voice? He puts on this Aussie guy bogan persona every time he talks.
Lisa, this is for you. I think it's the only answer. It's a divorce agreement. What does the bottom say, Lisa?
Tick here to divorce a guy who doesn't understand classic humour.
The season finale of Hughesy, We Have a Problem on 10.
Catch Hughesy's last laugh tonight.
You're watching 10 News first. Canada is in mourning tonight after suffering its worst mass shooting in history. At least 17 people were murdered by a dentist dressed up as a police officer who was on the run for 12 hours.
2 police cars burn on the side of a highway.
They're dragging him out. Look, they're dragging somebody. Oh, my God.
As the shooter, cum arsonist, escapes police again during a 12-hour killing spree a short time later at a petrol station.
They got the killer right here. Oh, they got him, but they shot him. I heard the 4 shots.
Canada's deadliest mass shooting is finally brought to an end. Police killing the suspect.
Today is a devastating day for Nova Scotia, and it will remain etched in the minds of many for years to come.
This is the unsuspecting face of evil, 51-year-old dentist Gabriel Wortman.
So many ways for people to get dentures.
Police believe he started with a clear motive, murdering several people in a house before midnight last night, but then it turned into a random killing spree across several towns. One line of inquiry is whether the coronavirus lockdown played a role. Among the dead, Constable Heidi Stevenson, a 23-year veteran of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and mother of 2.
Earlier this afternoon, I met with Heidi's family, and there are no words to describe their pain.
During the shooting, residents in Nova Scotia hid in basements.
It's just something that I never ever expect to happen here, this close to home.
Adding to the confusion, Wortman dressed up as a police officer and drove a fake police car. He also set fire to several of the crime scenes.
My hearts go out to everyone affected in what is a terrible situation.
Like here in America, gun ownership in Canada is relatively common, but mass shootings are much rarer. In fact, the closest incident to happen to today's mass shooting occurred in 1989 when a gunman shot dead 14 women in Montreal. Now, today's rampage will take its place in the dark chapters of Canadian history as a nation under coronavirus lockdown watched every step unfold on television. Restrictions that thankfully meant there were fewer targets out on the streets. Perhaps the only silver lining on one of Canada's darkest days. Eamon Ashton-Atkinson for 10 News First.
The federal government plans to do what no one else managed to at this point, and that's to force Google and Facebook to pay more towards the cost of producing news. It claims the digital giants currently profit from advertising without paying to produce news content.
Now, unless news is taxpayer-funded, like the ABC or SBS, all the news you read or watch is ultimately funded by advertising or subscription. But increasingly, people find their way to news content like this through Google or Facebook, and they don't pay directly to produce it. The government says something has to change.
But we understand the challenge that we face. This is a big mountain to climb. These are big companies that we're dealing with, but there's also so much at stake, so we're prepared for this fight.
The government commissioned the competition watchdog, the ACCC, to look into these issues. It reported back last year, and it found more than 19 million Australians, almost everyone over the age of 13, used Google every month. Nearly 18 million use YouTube, which is owned by Google. 17 million use Facebook, and over 11 million use Instagram, which is owned by Facebook. The ACCC found news outlets have no real option but to share their content through Facebook or Google, and that gives digital giants enormous power in the market. And coronavirus has further raised the urgency level. Nearly 80% of businesses have either cut back advertising or stopped it altogether. And that means just when the nation needs news more than ever, the money was drying up to pay for it, regardless of the platform.
And it's called into question the adequacy of our existing regulatory frameworks and the viability of traditional media outlets.
Journalism matters. Journalism is vital in a democracy, but journalism costs money to produce.
Now, there were plans for a voluntary code by the end of the year, but the government has lost patience. It wants a new mandatory revenue sharing arrangement drafted by July. Now, TEN's Chief Content Officer, Beverly McGarvey, says for the new code to be truly meaningful, it needs to cover all premium content, not just news. Facebook says it is disappointed by today's developments, saying it spends hundreds of millions of dollars globally supporting journalism. Google says it will continue to work constructively with news producers. Once again, though, we're seeing the government using a crisis to try to push through some pretty big reforms.
Well, let's take a look at our roads now. It's up to Jess Miller in the traffic chopper.
Thank you, Jen. Having a look at Roxburgh Park in the Lexus of Brighton traffic chopper. This is Sydney Road at Somerton Road. There was a collision a little further down on Somerton Road, which was making it very heavy through this area. Fortunately, as you can see, it has eased up. The crash itself was before Pascoe Road, affecting westbound traffic, but the delays were gone pretty much straight after the crash was cleared, so no dramas if you need to travel through here. Back to you, Jen.
Thank you, Jess. A man's been charged over the murder of a man in Frankston North earlier this month. The 47-year-old victim was found with life-threatening injuries inside a home on Lehman Crescent. Paramedics couldn't revive him. A 44-year-old man was arrested and faced a magistrate charged with murder. Well, ahead in 10 News First, Europe passes another grim milestone, but there are stories of remarkable recovery providing a glimmer of hope. And no, we're not telling porkies. A pig's great escape from lockdown leads to a wild chase.
And into the 20s today. More 20s to come this week. Details soon.
While we're all parked for a while, Lexus isn't. We're still anticipating your needs. So if your Lexus needs a service, we'll pick it up, deliver you a loan car, and return yours thoroughly cleaned inside and out.
1,200 ravenous punters.
We're MasterChef's biggest barbecue ever. Eat them alive in St Kilda.
I'm worried for you, mate. Have you got anything cooked?
MasterChef, 7:30 tonight.
Join AHM Hospital and Extras Direct and you'll get 6 weeks free. Plus, we'll waive any 2 and 6 month waits on extras.
Yay!
Whether you're a single, a couple, or a family. It's that simple. That doesn't look very simple. Offer ends June 30. Find out more and join AHM Direct today. AHM, the simple bit.
I like my underwear like I like my martinis. Dry. That's why Poise pads absorb 2 times more than you may need and are 5 times drier than leading period pads. You got protection, you got Poise.
Bedshed are taking 20 to 50% off everything. All beds, mattresses and furniture. 20 to 50% off. No exceptions. Hurry in and save at Bedshed. No one's better in the bedroom.
I'm Tammy Button. I founded My Budget to help people get through difficult times. Now more than ever, we need to consider the best way to manage our money and prepare for the unknown. Call My Budget today for your free phone appointment.
Right now, it's time to stay safe. Right now, it's time to stay home. But there's one thing you should never stop doing, and that's dreaming of your next adventure. Because even though today we can't hit the beach, we can't head for the hills, or even just push the boat out, it won't be forever.
On one day, Wednesday 22nd of April, you have the power to change young lives forever. McKillop runs an incredible program to help vulnerable children re-engage with education and reach their goals. It's well known that dogs help reduce our stress and provide comfort, so integrating therapy dogs into schools is a no-brainer. Donate to Paws for Kids so that we can get more dogs like Indy here, giving children the confidence to get back to school.
When a cold disturbs your family's sleep, Vicks Vapor Rub relieves cough, nasal congestion, muscle aches and pains. They sleep, you sleep. Vicks Vapor Rub relieves 4 cough and cold symptoms.
The COVID-19 crisis brings unprecedented internet traffic over the NBN network. To help support Australia during this time, we currently offer internet providers up to 40% increased network capacity. Our technicians remain on the ground wherever they're needed. And we're sharing updated tips to help you get more from your home setup. To find out more, visit nbn.com.au/response.
My problem today is... You have a squeaky voice.
So who can fix that?
I got you covered.
The season finale of Hughesy, We Have a Problem. Next.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has announced New Zealand will ease Level 4 lockdown restrictions in 7 days. Level 3 will take effect at midnight next Monday. People will have to continue working and learning from home where possible, practising social distancing and exercise close to home. The nation's coronavirus transmission rate remains one of the lowest in the world. Europe has passed a grim milestone in the battle against COVID-19, recording more than 100,000 official deaths, although the actual toll could be far greater. There are some glimmers of hope, but in the worst affected places, including the United Kingdom, it appears the crisis is far from over. Europe correspondent Phoebe Bowden reports.
From the empty streets of Paris to a deserted Rome, it's unlikely the Europe we know will ever be the same. More than 100,000 lives officially lost across the continent to COVID-19. Tens of thousands more have also perished without their deaths being recorded in a crisis racing faster than governments can handle it. Thankfully, Spain has joined Italy in showing signs of improvement. It's recorded its lowest daily death toll in a month. In the UK, there are some stories of hope. This man with Down syndrome was given 24 hours to live. Now he's been reunited with his mother. And at a site that once held Olympic events, a victory of a different kind. A farewell to the first patient to recover from COVID-19 in London's largest temporary hospital.
We're immensely proud to have played our part in saving Mr. Jones' life.
Amid the individual tales of hope is the reality of a crisis overwhelming a nation. More than 16,000 people have died in hospitals from COVID-19 here in the UK, even more in nursing homes. Medics are dying because there's not enough protective gear to keep them safe. And until the situation is under control, over 70s may be housebound for a year. That's why Prince Harry has been criticised for saying this.
It can be very worrying when you're sitting there and the only sort of information you're getting is through certain news channels. But then if you're out and about or you're on the right platforms, you can really sense this human spirit coming to the forefront.
There's no doubt the human spirit is high in the UK, but so is the scale of this crisis. Phoebe Bowden for 10 News First, London.
And frustration is growing in the US as more states try to balance growing calls to reopen with the safety of their populations. While the death toll has climbed to more than 40,000, the rate of new infections is declining.
A direct appeal to a son of the city.
Are you going to save New York City, or are you telling New York City to drop dead? Which one is it?
A clearly frustrated mayor of New York playing rough with the president.
What's going on? Cat got your tongue? You're usually really talkative.
Authorities may be slowly getting on top of the coronavirus outbreak, but there are still desperate shortages of vital equipment. And with eyes now turning to the recovery, a desperate shortage of money as well.
The federal government was very quick to bail out the auto industry. How about bailing out the nation's largest city? How about bailing out the epicenter of this crisis where people have been suffering?
I just got off the phone with the Secretary of the Treasury, and we have some very good negotiations going on right now. And I think you could have a nice answer tomorrow, but we'll see.
Promising signs in New York's virus numbers too, but they come with a warning from the governor.
It's no time to get cocky, and it's no time to get arrogant, right? We still have a long way to go and a lot of work to do.
Frustrated with that amount of work and sacrifice, thousands of Americans spent another day protesting.
It's the flu. The people who have poor health are always the most vulnerable. God bless them.
Even targeting those on the front lines. But for the medics, it's not about freedom. It's about saving lives.
We just need to make sure that we stay the course with social distancing. We don't want to see another surge come in that would be overwhelming.
And with more than 40,000 Americans dead and thousands still in hospital, another surge would be catastrophic. Joe Hill for 10 News First.
Well, it seems lockdown was the last straw for one piggy participant in Connecticut. His breakout caught on police body cam. Taking his chances to escape the clutches of pursuing officers, Porky managed to evade capture for a full 45 minutes. But all good things must come to an end. An officer managed to trap him in a rubbish bin and take him to the local animal rescue. And now here's Mike with a look ahead to all your weather essentials.
Yes, thank you, Jen. Good evening. Well, I think we can all agree that 2020 is a unique leap year. 29 days in February, 300 days in March, 5 years in April, or so it seems. It is going so slowly. Well, I tell you what, the weekend was a lot better than expected. A lot of sunshine yesterday especially. And then today began wet and windy. That wind 100 k's in the Grampians, 85 at St Kilda. The wind strong enough to blow kids back to school. Well, almost. Grey skies this morning replaced by blue skies this afternoon, and we scored a very, very pleasant 21-degree afternoon maximum as the winds ease right off. Good news, warmer still. Forecast in fall from downtown Docklands in about half an hour's time, and also we'll check Mike's picks. Jen?
Thank you, Mike. And still to come, we'll have an update on the financial markets and find out why gangland widow Roberta Williams has had her bail conditions relaxed.
Have you been missing something from your Monday nights?
I'll give you a clue. Nah, let's just get it.
Well, guess what? We're back.
Oh my god, it's so amazing.
I get the idea. It's a quiz, everybody.
The new season of Have You Been Paying Attention returns to Mondays on 10.
While we're all parked for a while, Lexus isn't. We're still committed to anticipating your needs. So we're here for you, because us putting you first and you counting on us is more important now than ever.
A lot's changed over the last few months. For over 100 years, Allianz Australia has supported its customers through uncertainty and change. And we'll continue to ensure what matters most to you, because our support doesn't stop here.
Telfast knows that hay fever can strike at any time. It works fast to relieve allergy symptoms like watery eyes, a runny nose and sneezing. Nothing beats Telfast for staying alert and focused when hay fever strikes.
Feed the family with Hungry Jack's new family bundle. Treat yourself with 2 Whoppers, 2 cheeseburgers, 4 small chips, 4 Cokes, 10 nuggets and sauce, only $24.95. Get takeaway, drive-through or delivery at Hungry Jack's.
Hi, I'm Jo from Westpac, and I'm here to show you how easy it is to set up online banking on your computer. First, type westpac.com.au/register into your browser. Now on this page, select the Register button at the right-hand side of the screen. Next, enter your Westpac card details or your customer ID along with your name and date of birth. You'll find your customer ID on your statement. In some cases, you may be asked some security questions to confirm your identity. You'll need to create a password that you'll use to log back into Westpac online banking. Finally, you'll need to confirm or update your email and mobile number. Perfect. You're all set up. If you need any more information, visit westpac.com.au/register. And above all, please stay safe.
Are you living with mild joint or nerve pain? Caruso's Pain Analgesic for Joints to the rescue. Caruso's Pain Analgesic for Joints is a new alternative formula for the relief of mild nerve and joint pain, joint stiffness, joint inflammation and joint soreness. Caruso's Pain Analgesic for Joints comes with a money-back guarantee.
I would never put anything in my products that I wouldn't take myself or give to my family.
New Caruso's Pain Analgesic for Joints is available from selected pharmacies and health stores.
Right now at Target, get 20% off toys from these big brands like Lego, Nerf, Barbie, Fisher-Price and more. Now on at Target. Offer ends April 26 in selected stores and online. Conditions apply.
Every day, we work to make our networks stronger and more reliable. So even when we can't be close, we can still be connected together.
1,200 hunters.
Will MasterChef's biggest barbecue ever
I'm worried for you, mate.
Eat them alive tonight.
Welcome back. Gangland widow Roberta Williams is among thousands of people who've had bail conditions relaxed to help stop the spread of coronavirus. Christina Costales joins us live now. Christina, what's changed?
Well, for Roberta Williams, she will no longer have to report to police 4 times a week. The chronic asthmatic argued that she was risking her life having to go to her local police station as often as she was during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it seems like she is not the only one. In an email sent to all police officers and PSOs, it stated that bail reporting is to be suspended from this Friday, which means anyone out on bail, no matter what their crime or charges are, they won't be required to physically report to a police station during the pandemic. In support of the Chief Health Officer directions, the decision was made to reduce the risk to staff and the community during COVID-19, and it has the support of the courts. Shadow Attorney General says that he wants these changes to be in place for the shortest time as possible, and I should note anyone on bail like Roberta Williams will still be required to adhere to all other conditions of their bail. Jen?
OK, thank you very much, Christina. Well, the UK's lockdown has meant a very different wedding day for this nurse and her husband-to-be. It wasn't that their guests appeared via a Zoom call that made it strange, it was their wedding singer.
It's Ellie Goulding. Oh, God, it's Ellie Goulding.
Hey. So congratulations, Harvey and Hayley, and you're both heroes, and we all love you.
Love me like you do, touch me like you do, touch me like you do.
Their wedding had been postponed, but as a thank you for Hayley's work as a nurse, a wedding planning company organised the whole thing, including Ellie Goulding's appearance. Well, let's take another look at the traffic now. It's back up to Jess Miller in the chopper.
Thanks, Jen. Above East Melbourne in the Lexus of Brighton traffic chopper. Having a look at these sewer works that have been underway since last week. These are on Hoddle Street, just before Albert Street. The 2 middle lanes are blocked for northbound traffic, and as a result, it's looking like a pretty average run out of Richmond, and this will likely be the case for tomorrow as well. Also, some works on the go for Carrum, Nepean Highway, just near Progress Avenue to watch out for. Jen?
Thank you, Jess. And now here's Stephen with Monday's sport, and we're getting a little bit closer to a footy season.
Yeah, little Jen. It could be Christmas in July for AFL fans. More drama for rugby league. Socceroo legends call for a complete overhaul of the game. Cricket deals with a money crisis. And fit for a king, or even two, as the AFL Twins reunite.
While we're all parked for a while, Lexus isn't. We're still anticipating your needs. So if your Lexus needs a service, we'll pick it up, deliver you a loan car, and return yours thoroughly cleaned inside and out.
We chat to the first chef eliminated from the MasterChef kitchen next.
When are you due?
Early June.
Same.
Can't wait for our babies to meet.
You know that.
He's not here. Not here. Someone has taken my baby.
You've got secrets. You've done bad things.
We got him. Come on, let's go!
Drop your weapon! Boys!
She's got my baby!
The Secrets She Keeps premieres Wednesday after MasterChef.
When a cold disturbs your family's sleep, Vicks Vapor Rub relieves cough, nasal congestion, muscle aches and pains. They sleep, you sleep. Vicks Vapor Rub relieves 4 cough and cold symptoms.
It's a difficult time for Aussie families right now. And this is true of our Subway family too. We can't change what's happening, but we can bring you a little something fresh, tasty and Australian grown to take your mind off things. And when we do, you'll know that your family is helping Aussie farmers, local communities, and one of the thousands of small business owners across Australia. So thank you, from our family to yours.
Life happens in ways we don't always expect, but Bupa is ready to help.
Because double bouncing will always be a thing. Because more time at home isn't always more relaxing. Because toddlers are the same height as tables. And because we're not all master chefs, Bupa is here for you. Now, more than ever. Bupa, because life happens.
The King Living sale is on now. The biggest online sale event featuring the best in Australian furniture design. So why buy ordinary furniture when you can stay home with King furniture? The King Living sale online, on now.
Entertaining outdoors? Too hot in summer? Too wet in winter? Control the seasons and live life your way with Louver House. Order this month and receive LED lighting absolutely free. But hurry, this offer won't last. Louver House.
The MS Dream Home Lottery has a brand new super early bird prize for you. An incredible BMW Z4. Get your tickets by Wednesday to be in all major prize draws.
No matter how they sleep, take comfort that Huggies newborn nappies with Huggies Dry Touch Layer quickly absorbs runny poos. And our super soft outer cover provides our best care for your newborn's delicate skin. Huggies, be comfortable in your skin.
Your local Bunnings is here to help with Drive and Collect. You can shop online for a huge range of emergency repairs and maintenance essentials and pick them up without getting out of your car. We want to make it easy to get what you need. It's like having Bunnings at your fingertips.
Even though we need to stay inside, we can still keep moving. Even when you're not outside, you can still move like you are. Because even when spaces are limited, you can still move without limits.
If you're a small business, you've probably got a lot of questions right now, which is why you should speak to a professional accountant who's trained in planning and cash flow management strategies. For further support, contact a professional accountant today.
1,200
Will MasterChef's biggest barbecue ever
I'm worried for you, mate.
eat them alive tonight?
Good evening. The AFL is growing more confident it will get its revised 17-game season in 2020. Rob Waters joins us from league headquarters. Rob, what has sparked the AFL's optimism?
Good evening, Stephen. Because I think things are gradually improving. The rate of infections has slowed. The government response around Australia seems to be working, and that is allowing the AFL to form a manageable plan to return to football in 2020. I believe they are aiming for a July return, but that is, of course, contingent on no new spike in infections, no second wave. A lot has to go right for all that to happen. Now, Victoria's Chief Medical Officer has outlined a template for a return to football. We'll hear from him shortly, but first, here's the AFL's Gillon McLaughlin.
We wouldn't do anything without the government and the Chief Medical Officer signing off on it. Certainly not contemplating staying with the crowd at the start, and I think it's challenging, but we are going very well and things change.
Gil and I discussed it in terms of the planning that needs to be in place. He will come formally with some proposals. My suggestion was it needs to be a national conversation because it does relate to how teams can move around the country.
There's been massive political fallout in the NRL. Chief Executive Todd Greenberg has fallen on his sword after 7 years in the job. It's been reported that Greenberg and Peter V'landys, the chairman of the NRL, have fallen out. Now, V'landys is, of course, pressing ahead with these plans to get the NRL back and going by late May. And oddly enough, the one organisation that is barracking for that to happen, as crazy as it is and maybe even as unrealistic as it is, but if it gets up and going and works, then it will make whatever the AFL is planning look all the more reasonable. But that's a big resignation or sacking in the NRL world. Stephen?
Thanks, Rob. Rob Waters at AFL headquarters. It's not the reunion Saints or Suns recruiters had in mind, but Max and Ben King are relishing their time together back under one roof. They would rather be playing footy, but after waiting a year to make his debut, St Max is happy just to have game one under his belt.
It may not be the case in poker, but in this footy family, a pair of kings equals a full house.
Yeah, it's good. It feels like old times again.
Mum's pretty happy as well to have us both back.
They're among the lucky ones with a ready-made training buddy.
Yeah, we put the gloves on last night and had a bit of a spar. He got me in the neck, I don't know if you can see, but...
Competition and comparison are inevitable, and the boys believe that will only grow over their careers at different clubs.
We've both developed a fair bit in our first AFL year, but I feel like we're both still pretty even physically, so yeah. I've noticed he's come back with this thing on his top lip, so yeah, that's probably the big difference I've seen.
But their journeys have been vastly different. Ben has 15 games under his belt.
King! Big Ben chimes in.
While Max had to wait an agonising 12 months for his debut.
We all dream about what our first game's going to look like, and this probably wasn't how you pictured your dreams.
He said some really kind words, and yeah, obviously no one better to sort of mentor me and help me through my early stages of my career.
Wearing Nick Riewoldt, number 12, from the old King to the new King.
I was pretty grateful just to get the first game out of the way before this big thing, because if I was still thinking about debuting while this whole thing lasted, it would be pretty stressful.
Size and strength have always been an issue for the twins, and the pair are hoping to use this break to bulk up, with plenty of weight sessions and Mum's cooking to help.
Ben actually made a paella the other night for all of us, so yeah, Mum was very impressed by that, and now expects me to start cooking a bit more as well, so he's come back and shown me up a little bit.
Keyte Price for 10 News First.
T20 World Cup organisers are determined to plough on with the October event despite the complete shutdown of the game. And while Cricket Australia and the players are on another collision course over contracts, Josh Hazlewood says it'll be nothing like the last standoff.
This is not something you would have heard from an Australian cricketer during the 2017 pay dispute.
Yeah, we're obviously partners in the game, and we've always said that. We've ridden the highs, and now it's probably time to ride the lows a little bit.
Lessons learned from the messy standoff under the old administration mean it won't be repeated this time around.
The relationships are a lot better now between the ACA and CA, and they've developed a long way, I think, in the last 18 months, 2 years probably.
Player pay cuts are inevitable, though. For a sport that had nearly $200 million in cash reserves in 2016, Josh Hazlewood admits to being blindsided by news Cricket Australia could be broke by August.
Yeah, it probably took me a little bit by surprise, I guess, just due to the fact that it's probably happened at a perfect time, I guess, this pandemic for cricket.
T20 World Cup organisers are determined for that event to go ahead in October, despite a potential risk to players' safety.
Yeah, you obviously think about it and you take precautions, and we're no different to anyone else.
India's test tour immediately after remains clouded. If it doesn't happen, it could be replaced by an Australia versus Australia A series, much like the pre-Ashes trial.
It was a pretty exciting game, to be honest. No one held back at all. Sort of spots were on the line. So I guess you'd have that same sort of feel.
It's hard to imagine a domestic series would be enough to bail out Australia's favourite pastime. Josh McLean for 10 News First.
Several Socceroo greats believe Australian football has been in turmoil for a decade and needs drastic change. 6 players from the golden generation got together for a Facebook chat, and they did not hold back.
It was a golden generation reunion of sorts.
We haven't had this group of guys together for a long, long time.
So it reminds me a little bit about the time when we used to be stuck in hotel rooms.
Half a dozen Socceroos greats discussing the hot topics surrounding the game in Australia and shooting from the hip.
Can you finish this sentence? In the past decade, Australian football has
gone nowhere.
It's at a crossroads, John, in my opinion.
It's not perfect. Of course it's not perfect.
In 2005, it was John Aloisi's penalty which put Australian football on the world map, qualifying for its first World Cup finals since 1974. But lately, the conveyor belt of Aussie superstars on the global stage has disappeared, and youth development was the focus.
Are we missing out on some of the people that can't afford it?
We're hearing that they're loads, or they're not able to play 90 minutes. They can only play 60 minutes.
The FFA closed the Centre of Excellence at the Australian Institute of Sport in 2017, mainly due to a $1.6 million annual cost.
That program needs to somehow be born again.
The AIS basically made me as a player.
Next in the firing line, the A-League.
I don't think the quality of the A-League is, improving.
The A-League is like watching It's a Knockout.
That's not on anymore, Dukes.
The discussion even had current players sharing the view that things have to change.
I do feel there's a lot of improvements in football to be made. Engaging the community, getting bums on seats.
Michael Keyte for 10 News First.
Well, you would think just being able to play competitive sport would be enough to keep you happy at the moment, but Taiwanese baseball quickly hit that theory out of the park.
We could have a big problem here as Sosa's ready to take on the whole team and the bench is clear. You know, for our international viewers, you need to understand that this never really happens in the CPBL.
Yes, apparently for this league, arguing with the ref is really rare. All in brawls, almost unheard of. But while both teams boast a pretty clean rap sheet, we'll still punish them with our spray of the day.
Do you call that a melee?
Fracas?
All of the above.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephen. Coming up, Mike's back with the weather and plenty of sun around today.
How the coronavirus crisis is providing a glimmer of hope for the homeless.
1,200 ravenous punters.
We're MasterChef's biggest barbecue ever. Eat them alive in St Kilda.
I'm worried for you, mate. Have you got anything cooked?
MasterChef on 10.
It continues 7:30 tonight.
At Domino's, we've introduced a number of measures to improve our safety. Our zero contact delivery means that you can get a tasty meal safely delivered without ever having to leave your home in search of other options. We've also been working hard to feed the front line of doctors and nurses and supermarket workers. We're playing our part to keep Australians safely fed. After all, we're all in this together.
Make your home a sanctuary with distinctive luxury homewares up to 75% off with Canning Bell's Luxury for Less sale. Shop online with code FREE for fast free shipping and a 100-day home trial. Limited time only. CanningBell.com.
With Belong, you get 10 gigs of mobile data for $25 a month. That's 10 gigs of family time. Plus, unlimited international calls and texts to selected countries for $5 extra. Together, we're different. Belong.
Take a moment to experience bliss. Smooth melting Lindor. Melt into a moment of bliss from Lindt.
New Mitsubishi ASX, built to pack life in.
The MS Dream Home Lottery has a brand new super early bird prize for you. An incredible BMW Z4. Get your tickets by Wednesday to be in all major prize draws.
Even though we need to stay inside, we can still keep moving. Even when you're not outside, you can still move like you are. Because even when spaces are limited, you can still move without limits.
Employees of Budget Direct. Over 20 years, you have become the country's most award-winning insurer, providing top-notch cover for more than 3 million Australians.
It's a start. 22 million to go. Will you help people get a better deal on their car insurance?
Will you fight to save Australians on their home insurance?
No, Karen. She loves saving people money.
Who are you?
Proudly saving Australians on insurance for 20 years. Budget Direct. Insurance solved.
Welcome back. Now it's over to Mike for the 7-day forecast.
Yeah, thanks again, Jen. Good evening. Well, first up was a windy old start to the day, a couple of showers mostly at lunchtime, and then the sun broke through for a glorious afternoon, getting into the 20s across much of Melbourne. Still the slight chance of a shower tonight. OK, some great photos that have been sent to Mike's Pics at network10.com.au. And first up, you've got to love the colours of autumn. This from Donna and also Greg in Langwarrin. And from Ivica Glavis, birds of a feather, well, they flocked to the Western Treatment Plant in Werribee. So 12 degrees was the overnight low. We reverse those figures for our maximum mid-afternoon of 21 degrees. About average for this time of year, but it was above average in the style of weather this afternoon. Outside right now, lovely, 17 degrees, the humidity of 52%, and the wind, although west-southwesterly, blowing at just 3 kilometres per hour. Around Melbourne today, a little cool up at Mount Dandenong, 8 degrees this morning, and 14 degrees this afternoon. Across our state, well, that wind this morning was blowing undies from one clothesline to another. That hitting 100 k's in the Grampians, 96 in the Alps, 85 at St Kilda, 83 kilometres per hour at Tullamarine, 24 degrees the state's maximum, for the max in Falls Creek after a 0 degree start. Around the country, I miss the life we had 4 weeks ago. Adelaide making news worldwide with a kangaroo hopping down their main street, 20 degrees. Down in Hobart, 18 degrees, 3 millimetres of rain falling there this afternoon. Up in Brisbane, 14 to 29, an icy 0 at Stanthorpe in Queensland this morning. Sydney, beaches have reopened and servers have returned in droves, 20 degrees. And in Canberra, where a guy isolating tried to read a book on the weekend on sticky tape, but couldn't find the beginning. 18 degrees. The weather charts, and we are currently sitting between a couple of cold fronts, the next to reach southwest Victoria tomorrow night. The rainfall charts, some light showers for Victoria tomorrow night into Wednesday. A rather intense low sits off WA. Thunderstorms hitting Queensland's mid-coast. In Rockhampton, tennis ball size hail, causing a racket. Over to Perth, 24 degrees tomorrow and showery. Adelaide also 24. Hobart 8 to 17. Up in Sydney, sunny and 25 the next couple of days. Canberra 21 all week. Across our state tomorrow, morning fog patches in the north, dry and mainly sunny in the morning before cloud floats across our skies. Some scattered showers to follow later in the day in the southwest, reaching central Victoria tomorrow night. 23, 24 in the northwest. We'll have a look at the radar. You can see showers are sort of moving into eastern Victoria now. A couple crossing the Wimmera. The best rains, 10 mils at Wonthaggi and Main Ridge, around a millimetre falling here in Melbourne today. Strong wind warning tomorrow for the west coast. Around Melbourne, Frankston 10 to 20, Geelong 9 to 21, in the Yarra Valley 4 to 19, and the Werribee 8 to 20 tomorrow. Also some fogs in outer eastern suburbs to hide the kids in. Out on the bays, north-westerly winds at 15 knots, possibly 20, waves 1.5 metres, the sun setting around 5:45. And now the forecast for our quiet city by the bay, dry and partly cloudy with light winds tonight, chilly tomorrow morning in the kitchen, down to 9, a sunny morning ahead of a partly cloudy afternoon, 20 the expected maximum. On to Wednesday, 13 to 19, partly cloudy, a 20% chance of a shower, but 40% in southeastern suburbs, northerly winds tending westerly. On to Thursday, 11 to 22, partly cloudy, showers rolling in later in the afternoon, 1 to 5 mils of rain. Friday, 15 to 20, partly cloudy, early showers and sunny. Anzac Day is Saturday, 12 to 21, same as tonight, in fact, 12 to 21 with light winds. Sunday, 14 to 20 degrees and wet.
Our top stories tonight, just one more case. Victorians urged to stay the course as we continue to keep coronavirus infections low. The disgusting racist attack on a Geelong doctor. He's helping to fight coronavirus, and yet he's been targeted for abuse. And Canada in mourning after a shooter disguised as a police officer goes on a killing spree. Victorians have helped change the course of the COVID-19 crisis, with new figures released today showing we're winning the war against the virus. But modelling released by the Chief Health Officer has revealed just how bad things might have been.
With most Victorians adhering to another weekend at home, the Chief Health Officer decided it was time to prove why it was necessary.
We saw this modelling some time ago and we changed the future.
Without social distancing, the modelling says we could have had 58,000 new COVID cases per day. That would mean some 10,000 ICU beds being occupied, which would include 7,000 patients requiring ventilators. Those numbers would have meant an estimated 650 deaths per day.
We've acted hard and acted early, and just very grateful we're in this country and not some other parts of the world.
But with just one case of coronavirus confirmed overnight, the Premier signalled he's open to easing restrictions.
The stability in those numbers gives us options.
A key marker in the fight against COVID is the reproduction rate, or how many people each carrier infects. If that figure is above 1, then the virus is growing. But if that figure is below 1, then the virus is disappearing. The latest figures in Victoria show that that figure has dropped to 0.5. And with an eye on America, the Premier is steadfast against opening golf courses.
Governor Cuomo wishes he was having a debate about golf. They're not. They're having a debate about where the temporary morgues will go.
A grim situation Victoria has so far thankfully avoided. Simon Love for 10 News First.
Police have issued almost 100 fines in the past 24 hours as people continue to flout coronavirus restrictions, including a Mildura man who breached the rules 5 times in 5 hours. Annie Kearney joins us live now. Annie, the man has also been arrested.
He's been arrested and charged, Jen. The 20-year-old Mildura man was caught by police 5 times in just 5 hours, breaching coronavirus restrictions. He's one of dozens of people caught doing the wrong thing, with police undertaking 819 spot checks over the past 24 hours and issuing 91 fines. Of those, 16 were for partygoers at a kid's birthday in Beaumaris. 5 people were caught in a car together drinking, and then there was that Mildura man who has been bailed to appear in the Mildura Magistrates Court in July. As for that kid's birthday I mentioned in Beaumaris, now those partygoers were dobbed in by witnesses, with dozens of passers-by seeing them blatantly flout those coronavirus restrictions. Some locals I spoke to said those fines were well deserved, while others said it looked like the group was trying to socially distance.
Milling around in the driveway, so it was all harmless, I think. Yeah, probably not as what the authorities might like, but it was all very harmless.
It's antisocial.
I am happy police are enforcing it. It's a tough job for them to do, but yeah, I am happy they're actually enforcing the rules.
Jen, authorities say these fines are a reminder for people to do the right thing, with police undertaking almost 25,000 spot checks in just the past month.
OK, thank you very much, Annie. Well, to breaking news now and the future of Virgin Australia. Joe Hill joins us live now. Joe, what's happened?
Jen, a major blow for Virgin Airlines. The company has been placed into voluntary administration. Senior executives have spent the day locked in meetings trying to plot a way forward for the company, but they've been unable to do so. We know that it's crushed under the weight of about $5 billion worth of debt. And in the current climate, it has next to no income. We've seen in recent weeks that the company has asked for a $1.4 billion bailout from the federal government, which it hasn't received. And now Deloitte has been called in to try to figure out how to keep the company afloat. There are thousands of jobs at risk when it comes to Virgin Airlines. This announcement, no doubt, is only going to make a tough time just that much harder for all of the staff and families. Coincidentally, state governments across the East Coast spent the day fighting amongst each other to try to shore up the future of Virgin. So, Jen, this isn't the end of the airline per se, but it is a massive step in the wrong direction for our nation's second carrier.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Joe. A Geelong doctor has spoken out after being targeted in a sickening racist attack. Ern Chang wants to raise awareness about an increase in abuse since the COVID-19 outbreak.
Ern Chang has embraced every element of being Australian since emigrating here from Singapore 12 years ago.
Hey, good day, Frank. Yeah, Dr. Chang.
He runs a family medical practice in Geelong, putting him right in the firing line of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Stay in your car. Yep, I'll come up with mask and gloves.
He knows the dangers of COVID-19, but he didn't think he'd be a victim, of sorts, when a woman approached him near his regular cafe.
Looked straight at me and said, "You shouldn't be here, you should be at home. Why are you here? F off." And she repeated that a couple of times, got in the car and says, "I bet your name's Lee, isn't it?"
Ern was hardly shocked. Many of his Asian friends and colleagues had told him about the increase in racial abuse since the coronavirus outbreak.
People just walking by and abusing them just for being there.
Ern's wife Michelle encouraged him to post his experience online to raise awareness and help others.
This virus is not a cultural thing, it's a human thing.
The Facebook post was met with mass applause for the GP. The couple says it's more important to unite communities than target people who make racist comments.
We don't know what's going on the other side of the table. We don't know what they're going through.
The Australian Asian Alliance has received 178 reports of COVID-related racism in the last fortnight. That's roughly 12 complaints per day across the country. But the number of actual incidents is likely to be much higher.
Really harmful, and I think goes against the values of the Victorian community, but it's also against the law.
Next time it'll be somebody else who looks different. So I don't think that has a place in our society.
Natasha Exelby for 10 News First.
Canada is in shock tonight after the worst mass shooting in the nation's history. At least 17 people were murdered by a dentist disguised as a police officer. Here's our North American correspondent, Eamon Ashton-Atkinson.
Well, this is the deadliest mass shooting in Canada's history after a dentist dressed up as a policeman and went on a shooting rampage that lasted more than 12 hours. Police believe that 51-year-old Gabriel Wortman began with a clear motive last night when just before midnight he shot dead several people in a home in rural Portapique, Nova Scotia. But then they say it turned into a random killing spree. The gunman was on the run all morning, going from scene to scene, killing random people and setting fire to some of the crime scenes. Here you can see 2 police cars that were on fire by the side of a highway when he managed to escape capture. But it all came to a dramatic end at a petrol station, with police killing Canada's deadliest mass shooter. Among his victims was Constable Heidi Stevenson, a 23-year veteran of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and mother of 2. Like here in America, Canada has a relatively high level of gun ownership, but mass shootings are much rarer. Canada's constitution doesn't guarantee the right to bear arms, so this will no doubt add fuel to the fire, calling for tighter gun controls. But right now, Canada is in mourning, trying to come to terms with one of its darkest days.
Well, let's take another look at the traffic now. It's back up to Jess Miller in the chopper.
Thanks, Jen. Looking at Brunswick West in the Lexus of Brighton traffic chopper. This is the intersection of Albion Street and Melville Road. As you can see, police are on scene for a collision and an ambulance is also arriving. So just a gentle reminder to take extra care on the roads. Jen?
Thank you, Jess. And Stephen's back now with a look at tonight's sport.
Thanks, Jen. We're edging closer to the start of the AFL season while the King twins make the most of their time off. Another King hit for rugby league. And a golfing star who needs to improve his driving as Leclerc takes the chocolates again.
While we're all parked for a while, Lexus isn't. We're still anticipating your needs. So if your Lexus needs a service, we'll pick it up, deliver you a loan car, and return yours thoroughly cleaned inside and out.
Newsy's helping get your kids into science during self-isolation. Plus, whip out your leg warmers. Aerobics Oz Style is back. Next.
Geeks to You saved my life.
Actually, I just saved all these photos. This PC had a virus.
Geeks to You set up, synced up and sorted out my world.
Well, her IT world at least.
With our new improved download speed, we're streaming every night.
Is there no end to their problem-solving powers?
If there is a problem we can't fix, you don't pay.
They may be geeks to you, but they're miracle workers to me.
Call 1300 Geeks to You and we'll come to you.
The MS Dream Home Lottery has a brand new super early bird prize for you. An incredible BMW Z4. Get your tickets by Wednesday to be in all major prize draws.
Special occasions should be celebrated, but Tim suffers heartburn and Tom suffers indigestion, so they use Gaviscon Dual Action, which, like all antacids, neutralises stomach acid, but also forms a protective barrier against reflux. Try Gaviscon Dual Action.
Get ready for a brand new addition to the Netflix originals you know and love. Ice cream. Introducing Ben & Jerry's Netflix and Chilled. The first Netflix original flavor from Ben & Jerry's. The perfect pint to go with all your favorites. You'll never want to watch Netflix without it.
Employees of Budget Direct, Over 20 years, you have become the country's most award-winning insurer, providing top-notch cover for more than 3 million Australians.
It's a start. 22 million to go. Will you help people get a better deal on their car insurance?
Will you fight to save Australians on their home insurance?
No, Karen. She loves saving people money.
Who are you?
Proudly saving Australians on insurance for 20 years. Budget Direct. Insurance solved.
JB's got the hottest deals to keep you connected. Get 15% off Samsung Galaxy S10 phones. Stay connected with this Lenovo Smart Display for $149. And this HP touchscreen laptop for $698. Buy in store, online click and collect or get it delivered. JB, you've done it again.
While we're all parked for a while, Lexus isn't. We're still anticipating your needs. So if your Lexus needs a service, we'll pick it up, deliver you a loan car, and return yours thoroughly cleaned inside and out.
Eggs. Crack 'em, whisk 'em, fry 'em, poach 'em, strain 'em, drain 'em, oil and oil 'em.
Eggs. They're nutritious and delicious, so your family can
kick it, catch it, swing and ride it, throw it, bowl it, jump and jive it.
Get cracking, Australia.
1,200 ravenous punters.
We're MasterChef's biggest barbecue ever. Eat them alive in St Kilda.
I'm worried for you, mate. Have you got anything cooked?
MasterChef, 7:30 tonight.
We're a week out from the AFL unveiling its plans for the 2020 season. Rob Waters joins us from league headquarters. Rob, the signs are positive.
Good evening, Stephen. Yes, so much of the planning of the AFL to get back onto the football field in 2020 was out of its control. But the news is very promising. The rate of infections has slowed. The response by the public of all the states around Australia to the government responses has been very, very good. So that's the good news, barring a sudden spike in infections or even a second wave or a shocking flu season, something like that. The AFL is confidently planning a return to football. The popular date is July. And while it's got, of course, meet its own economy realities now and that the economy of football is going to be slashed in the future, really the first thing they've got to do is the approval of the health authorities from around Australia. Now, the AFL's Chief Executive, Gillon McLachlan, has met with the Victorian Chief Health Officer, and he's outlined a template for the AFL to return. So let's firstly hear from the AFL CEO, Gillon McLachlan.
We wouldn't do anything without the government and the Chief Medical Officer signing off on it. Certainly not contemplating staying with the crowds at the start, and I think it's challenging, but we are going very well and things change.
Gil and I discussed it in terms of the planning that needs to be in place. He will come formally with some proposals. My suggestion was it needs to be a national conversation because it does relate to how teams can move around the country.
No update yet from the Western Bulldogs on the penalties for Lachie Hunter, who was involved in that ugly car crash incident last Thursday night. But The Age is reporting that Hunter will voluntarily relinquish the vice-captaincy of the Western Bulldogs. It's not going to end there. We can also suspect a heavy fine and a club-imposed suspension, and we're expecting that in the next day or two. But then, of course, he'll have to deal with the legal matters. So it's been a disastrous few days for Lachie Hunter and the Western Bulldogs, but he's going to relinquish that leadership position in the playing group. Stephen?
Thanks, Rob. Rob Waters at AFL headquarters. Sun star forward Ben King admits rampant speculation about his playing future took its toll last season. The forward is at home in Melbourne, training alongside twin brother Max. It's a scene St Kilda recruiters were hoping to make permanent before the teenagers signed a lucrative 2-year extension at the Suns.
Yeah, it was a relief. It was weighing on me a bit towards that period, but to sign on, I couldn't be happier to have 2 more years at the Suns and at least not think about it and just worry about footy for the moment.
The Twins are hoping to use the AFL break to bulk up, with both aiming to add size and strength to their lanky frames. West Coast Premiership midfielder Jack Redden hopes the wait to play footy is almost over and is preparing for a speedy return to WA. Redden has spent his month of isolation in his hometown of Adelaide.
The moment the AFL season was postponed, Jack Redden made family a priority.
We head back to SA just before the borders closed and just scraped in, but we've just been around family. Obviously 2 kids now, we're getting the extra hands at home, which is nice.
The Eagles on ball are playing parent in a full-time role.
Experiencing the stay-at-home mum life, and I'm looking forward to going back training.
But also made sure his own playground was footy-friendly. Redden desperate to be battle-ready.
We want to finish the season and contend at the end of the year.
Contact with West Coast teammates and coaches restricted to online, but he doesn't need to see the boys in person to be confident they won't be taking shortcuts.
If you can stay strong and prepare really well and have success in a year like this, it's a great character testing thing for the group, and it's been very rewarding as a group.
Although there is one player that may stray from the preferred diet.
Maybe number 9, he likes a burger or 2.
When the call comes to resume the premiership push,
100% I'll be straight on the plane.
It could start here in a hub in the West.
If it's deemed safe and there's no risk to the community or ourselves, I think the boys will be pretty open to any sort of scenario just to get some games out.
And Redden says it won't take long to be game ready.
I think maybe 4 weeks would be ideal to really ramp up the training, probably that change the direction, more game-like skills and situations. I think 4 weeks will be adequate amount of time.
Lockie Reid for 10 News First.
After 4 years in charge of the NRL, Todd Greenberg has fallen on his sword and quit as the game's chief executive. Greenberg was widely criticised by clubs for the NRL's dire financial situation, which was uncovered through the corona crisis. He was also frozen out of talks with broadcasters last week. In a statement, Greenberg said, "Despite the variety of challenges and pressures, I have loved every single minute of the journey." Chief Commercial Officer Andrew Abdo has been appointed acting CEO. Australian football has been in turmoil for the past decade and needs drastic change, according to several Socceroo greats. 6 players from the golden generation got together for a Facebook chat and did not hold back.
Can you finish this sentence? In the past decade, Australian football has
gone nowhere.
The product that we've currently seen over the last few years has not been an exciting product.
The greats are demanding the A-League revert to a winter competition and urge the reintroduction of the football program at the Australian Institute of Sport. A pro golfer went head-to-head with some of the best Formula One drivers, and perhaps not surprisingly, he was a fair way off the pace. Things were a bit rough for Ian Poulter at the virtual Chinese GP. He finished in 18th spot and showed why you shouldn't drive without distractions.
Oh, look at that now. Oh, no. Oh, you've got me all flustered. We've ruined Ian's race. A commentator's curse.
Carlos Sainz showed even the pro drivers can find the wall. No such trouble, though, for Ferrari's Charles Leclerc, who won his 2nd straight virtual race. That's it from me, Jen.
They're having fun, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
OK, thank you, Stephen. Mike will be back after the break with his remarkably accurate 7-day forecast.
It's the biggest
ravenous punters.
MasterChef barbecue ever.
Oh my gosh.
It is absolute mayhem. Alarm bells are starting to sound.
It's too slow.
I know, mate. I'm trying to get it going here, mate.
I warned you about this.
And will St Kilda's epic challenge eat them alive?
The way that your service goes all relies on the next 10 minutes. I'm worried for you, mate. Have you got anything cooked?
MasterChef, 7:30 tonight on 10.
When headaches hold you back, try Nurofen Quicksorb. Its advanced formula absorbs quickly, relieving headaches fast. For quick, effective pain relief, choose Nurofen Quicksorb.
Glen 20 has been helping to protect Aussies for generations. But we're not the only ones. Meals on Wheels protect our most vulnerable every day. You see, they're much more than just food delivery. They offer wellness support and a connection to the community. An invaluable service that's needed now more than ever. So to help them protect the people who need them, we're offering our support. And we're asking for your support too.
I'm Tammy Button. I founded My Budget to help people get through difficult times. Now more than ever, we need to consider the best way to manage our money and prepare for the unknown. Call My Budget today for your free phone appointment.
When life gives you kiddiness, Godfrey's gives you cleanliness. Ecovacs Depot 600 robot $299, save $100. Hoover bagless vacuum $149, save $150. Godfrey's cleanliness.
I started going out with a guy called Terry, and everyone took an instant dislike to him, including me. Seriously, it only took about 3 seconds to work out how deeply unpleasant, screwed up and angry he was. I went out with him for a year.
Moccona, for lovers of coffee.
At Terry White ChemMart, we're more than just open. We're open to helping any way we can, like offering the safety and convenience of home delivery. Terry White ChemMart. Now that's real chemistry.
Coronavirus is changing the way we live, work and communicate. Changes can be hard, so it's vital to take care of ourselves and others. Prioritising your mental health is important. To help, there are some things you can do, like eating well, keeping active, talking with family, friends and neighbours via phone or video calls, and making a new daily routine. Together, we can help stop the spread and stay healthy. Visit australia.gov.au to learn more. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Up next, COVID-19 lockdown is working to save lives, but hundreds of thousands of Aussie jobs have gone. The challenge is striking the right balance. Plus how the coronavirus is providing a small glimmer of hope for Australia's homeless. And our chat with the first eliminated MasterChef cook is on the way. The Project, next.
Welcome back. A new mother at Melbourne Zoo has taken to the treetops to proudly show off her infant son. Unlike his mother, Guapo is yet to grow the characteristic white mullet hairdo worn by all adult cotton-top tamarins. His name means handsome in Spanish, the language spoken in Colombia, where the species comes from. Their keepers are especially happy at Guapo's arrival because the cotton-top tamarin is listed as a critically endangered species. Now, Mike's back with the all-important 7-day forecast.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. Good evening. Well, ideal conditions tonight for your Monday night exercise. Just a light breeze and not too warm. But I tell you what, certainly was a windy old start to your day. 85 k's at St Kilda. Grey this morning, sunny this afternoon. In fact, a glorious 21-degree maximum. So let's have a look at today's temperatures. The day began on 12 degrees, 21 this afternoon under crystal clear skies as the wind eased right off early this afternoon. And outside right now, very comfortable at 17 degrees. That humidity around the 50% mark. Around Melbourne today, temperatures for the most part were pretty close on average this afternoon, and that included 14 degrees up high at Mount Dandenong. Across our state, well, that wind this morning was one heck of a breeze. 100 k's in the Grampians, 96 in the Alps, 85 as I said at St Kilda, 24 degrees was the state maximum. Around Australia today, Sydney surfs up, beaches have reopened, it was 20 degrees up in Brisbane, wow, at this time of year, 14 to 29. Down in Hobart, it's been a wet old afternoon, 18 degrees the maximum, a little further to the west, 20 degrees in Adelaide. Over to Perth tomorrow, some showers and 24 degrees, likewise for a maximum in Adelaide. Hobart tomorrow, 8 to 17, so a scrap cooler than it was today. Up in Sydney, blue skies and 25 the next couple of days. Brisbane, 29 today, 28 tomorrow, and in the national capital, around 21 degrees for the Tuesday. Across our state tomorrow, the day will begin foggy in the north, dry and mainly sunny in the morning before the cloud floating across from the west sort of adds a bit of grey to the sky. Scattered showers to follow later in the day in the southwest. That cloud reaching central Victoria tomorrow night, but just light rain with it. Hamilton and Warrnambool both expecting around 20 degrees. The radar shows, well, pretty much nothing. A bit of activity down in Tassie. The best rains locally have been 10 millimetres at Wonthaggi and Main Ridge. In Melbourne, we had around a millimetre of rain late morning into lunchtime. Strong wind warning tomorrow for the west coast only. Around Melbourne, good news, Neighbours resumes filming this week. The first Aussie show of its kind to do so. That's great. Frankston tomorrow, 10 to 20. July Geelong 9 to 21, Werribee 8 to 20. In the Yarra Valley, a very chilly start to your day. In the Yarra Valley, 4 to 19 degrees, and there will be fogs in outer eastern suburbs. On the bays, we'll have north-norwesterly winds at 15 knots, possibly 20, waves 1.5 metres, and the sun setting at around 5:45, getting dark just on 6. So for our good-looking city by the bay, dry and partly cloudy for your jog around, say the Tam, with light winds tonight. Chilly tomorrow morning, have breakfast time down to about 9 degrees. It will be a sunny start to your day, bit of cloud moving in around lunchtime, a partly cloudy afternoon, 20 the expected maximum with light north-norwesterly winds. On the Wednesday, 13 to 19 degrees and cloudy with a 20% chance of a shower. That increases to 40% in southeastern suburbs. Northerly winds tending westerly. On to Thursday, 11 to 22, partly cloudy. Showers moving in later in the afternoon. Friday, 15 to 20, partly cloudy. Early showers on Saturday. Saturday, Anzac Day. Now the suggestion is to stand on your front porch at 6 a.m. with a light on or a candle, and that'll be around 6 o'clock. 12 to 21 degrees, and then Sunday we're looking at 14 to 20 degrees, and it will be a wet day on Sunday. So that's your weather. It will be a chilly old start, but a sunny start to your Tuesday. See you tomorrow night, Jen.
Thank you, Mike. And that's 10 News First for this Monday. For now, from the news team, good night.
Tonight, COVID-19 lockdown is working to save lives, but hundreds of thousands of Aussie jobs have gone.